Hello, and welcome to Career Track by Climate Connect, a series where we explore the journeys of people building their careers in climate space. I'm Magdi Jain, your host for today, and I welcome you all for today's episode. We started this podcast to help young professionals understand the climate landscape and know where they fit in, because we really need more people in the climate space. And for today's episode, I'm really excited to introduce you with today's guest. We have with us Mr. Shakti. Shakti is the founder of Buy Food with Plastic India, a social enterprise that turns plastic waste into meals, hopes, and community action. Shakti, I welcome you for today's episode. Thank you for joining in, and I'm really excited to have conversation with you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so before we start in, I just wanted you to explain in simple terms your background, what you do, and what Buy Food with India Plastic does.
Yes, so my name is Shakti. I was born in Tamil Nadu in a small village, I think 1 hour from Kanyakumari. And luckily, I grew up in Mumbai. After a year, my parents migrated to Mumbai for a better life. And I did my schooling, my bachelor's, and my MBA in marketing. And in the last 10 years, I've been growing up in the slums, which is a crazy life experience for me, I would say. And that's where the idea of Buy Food with Plastic India was originated for me by seeing the problem. What we do is we create live events in the slums where people can exchange 20 empty plastic bottles for a warm meal. So people come on a Sunday evening for this event and they line up and bring 20 bottles in their hand and they give it to us and we exchange them for a warm meal, which is a vegetable biryani. And what we also do is we create awareness sessions for both children's and the adults in the community to make them understand that why does Buy Food with Plastic India exist? Does it even make sense to go to their community? Why is Buy Food with Plastic coming to my community? Rather, they can go to the school or somewhere else where there are people. So these are one of the reasons where we wanted to let them know through our sessions why does this problem exist in their community and how community can come together to solve this problem. And recently, in the past 1 year, we've been also able to recycle the collected bottles into meaningful products such as hair combs, laptop stand, tea coaster, flower pots. So this is what we've been doing in the last 4 to 5 years.
That's really amazing. That's really interesting. Something innovative, like you've heard of. Like you said that you had your experiences in slum from where you started it. Was there a moment or what was that motivation that sparked you to start such a social enterprise?
I think I would say it's a funny term. I would say I hate monsoon. Growing up in Bombay with 35 degrees, I would be the only person who would hate monsoon because of one single reason. Because when I grew up, when I was doing my bachelor's with my friends, so my college, the university was a few kilometers where it was walkable, and every monsoon, what it used to happen is all the sewer water because in our slums where we have the road, the sewer is open, the gutter is open. It's not underground the road, unfortunately. And all the water used to come out. And I and my friends has to jump this unhygienic water. The school children have to also go on the unhygienic gutter water, and as well as people going to their jobs. And at one point in time, we figured out that due to these issues, my friends are also getting dengue and malaria. And I thought, why does this only happen every monsoon? Why can't it happen in summer and winter? That's when we started figuring out and trying to do some research where we thought, okay, because of people throwing out plastic and because of no proper waste management, all the plastic goes into these gutters and the pipe gets choked out with, let's say, plastic bags, plastic bottle. So unfortunately, the rainwater doesn't have anywhere to go. It has to come out because everything is closed. That's when the idea of the problem first came out. And then eventually how it started is when the problem came out, I saw a post on Instagram in 2018 of someone exchanging bottles for a meal. And that was done in Nicaragua, which is in Central America near Costa Rica. I still remember it was a heavy monsoon and I saw this post and showed it to my friend. I said, wow, why don't we bring this idea in Mumbai where we can make sure that the plastic is going in the gutters can come to us so that I don't have to hate monsoon and everyone is healthy enough. And my friend, he he said, Shakti, these ideas can be only done in countries such as, let's say, UK, US, Australia, where there is a system where people can understand. We can't do this. In Mumbai, you have to pay 10 rupees for a vada pav. Come on, who would give 20 bottles for a vada pav? This doesn't make sense. At the time, it really clicked me and made me think that, okay, this is my friend and whatever he says makes sense. But I was still curious enough. And I went to the page and I started messaging the person saying, hey, really want to understand how this system works. So it was a Swiss person who founded this project in Nicaragua due to the climatic issues over there and due to hunger and poverty. And that's how it started developing in Nicaragua. And when I reached out, I still remember we had a phone call. I was in my auto rickshaw in Mumbai, and my now founder, was in Swiss Tram in Zurich. But our worlds are apart. I grew up differently. He grew up differently. But one thing was common is the problem, which was also harming, especially Nicaragua, especially India and other countries. So we collaborated, we merged together in this idea of plastic and trying to see how we could, remove these plastics from the gutters and oceans of Mumbai.
That's really like thoughtful. Because like the other day, even I saw like there's a smoking spot near my college area, and there were a lot of cigarette butts kept there. And the very moment I just felt like, how do we deal with this? So many cigarette butts, and people can't do just go and throw it in dustbin. They had to crush it out and all. Like, how do we deal? So like this, that's good. Like when you see something that's painful and then you come out of it, that's really thoughtful.
Yeah, because I think when we started asking questions to ourselves and to the friends, and it was quite a challenge to convince the people, let's say in Zurich, the founder, because when he started, he wanted to do it for Nicaragua. That was his, at the time
Hmm.
goal. But he never wanted to go to India, or he never knew someone in India to start, because it was a humble project which wanted to cater the Nicaraguan people as well. So it took me 2 years to convince the founders, sitting here through Instagram, sending problem statements, sending solutions. And by the time when I messaged him, I was in my bachelor's. So when I was kept on messaging him, I was suddenly in my master's after 2 years. And at one point in time during COVID, everything shut down. We and my friends started helping around people with the non-profit organizations which we have. But at one point in time, we finished up with our resources. We didn't have foods to give over here people, because fortunately people in the slums are not also able to have 3 meals a day, because there are daily wage workers, there are sweeper, there are bus drivers, and because of COVID, the city has stopped. So at the time, people in Switzerland start wanted to give and wanted to make a change by seeing whether they could help and bring a change around the globe. That's when I again messaged my founder in 2020 during COVID, explaining him the situation. And in September 2020, right after the first lockdown, we did our first pilot event where we successfully were able to help 100 people in the tribal belt near where we are located, and we were able to collect 1,000 plastic bottles. And that's when we figured out, okay, this really makes sense here now.
That's nice. Like also you mentioned that you guys organize awareness programs in the slums itself. Like how do they go about? Can you shed some light on that?
Awareness program was never into our goal, because our major goal was to hand out meals in exchange for bottles. And at one point in time, I figured out with the team, because there are a lot of small children coming into our community events. But funny thing is, they are pushing each other, they are playing around, and we are not able to make them understand that why do we come? Because how could I
Mm.
make them sit calmly, show some pictures or show a presentation or show a video? They are busy fighting with the next boy who is sitting nearby. So how could we make this thing happen? So with the team back in Switzerland, in Zurich, we came together and we made an awareness booklet which consists of drawings from internet, which showcases about plastic pollution and climate change. And after
Mm.
the events, we make these children sit down and color these drawings and also explain about what these drawing mentioned. So that was one of the interactive awareness sessions where we could make them sit down and understand. And these things were really amazing, because after these awareness sessions, we found out a pattern that nowadays these children are not sticking to 20 plastic bottles. Maybe some children are also bringing 200 to 400 bottles. because now they're trying to understand what plastic waste is. It is harming the ocean, it is harming the landfill, it is harming our environment. So they want to make sure that their community is clean as possible. So everyone is collecting plastic bottles. So there's no plastic bottle lying around in these communities because they know they want to really help. And with the adults, we have a session with our presentation where we try to make them understand how they can bring a change with basic amenities such as not using plastic bags, giving children's steel bottles and things like that. So this was our major goal when it comes to the community events and community events awareness sessions.
Hmm. That's nice. That's really nice. Like also you mentioned about like you messaged and reached out through Instagram, your Switzerland connections and Nicaragua as well as things. So like, and this podcast is mainly aimed at audiences, young professionals, and like how would you suggest them? Like how can they use social, and social media is like a buzz, everybody using Instagram, Twitter and everything. How can we use that platform? What would you suggest to young professionals that they can use it to get collaborations, to build cross-border connections like you did, something like that?
I think one of the very strong advice I would give to the young generation is to ask. Because what I learned is one of the powerful thing is to ask, because you never know, you might get an answer as yes or no. But we as Indians are always self-rejecting. Maybe I am the one of this person who before used to self-reject myself, saying, okay, maybe Climate Connect would not let me have a podcast with them. Maybe this is not for me. Maybe the Bifood Plastic team in Switzerland would not allow me to run this organization in Mumbai. But when once you break the barrier of your self-rejection and have a little bit more confidence and courage to try, I would say, because we are super, super young, and this is the time to try and fail. And asking is one of the magical things which has happened to me. I think one of the greatest example of asking and also social media, I would say, well, before I was using a lot of Instagram, and when I started being more professional and got introduced to LinkedIn. So I was more passionate about seeing what companies are coming up with policies and trying to have sort of a knowledge where I could also see how I could connect Bifood Plastic India with other corporate companies. And at the time, I saw a summer school program which was in collaboration with RWTH Aachen and IIT Madras. So they were having a sustainability sort of workshop for 2 weeks, which was fully funded. And I was fitting in right well with the profile. But only thing I was lacking, I was not a student, but it was for student. I was a working professional.
Hmm.
And at this time, I thought, okay, this is not for me. But the next day again, I woke up and I thought, why don't I just ask them what is going to happen? What worst can happen? They would say, no, Shakti, this is not possible. I wrote a nice email and they also said, unfortunately, I'm not a student, so I cannot be part of the sustainability program, which is for 2 weeks. But they would love to get on a call and understand how we work and how things work out. And after this call, they invited me to Germany to speak or become a lecturer for speaking about plastic pollution, climate change, and sustainability. And I was flown away in the next 3 weeks to Germany to just speak for an hour about this program. So this is something more magical, and it made me believe that okay, anyone in India could have asked them, or everyone stopped because they thought it's for students. And I also stopped, but I was curious enough to ask them. And I just kept on asking. And that led to me have a speech in front of people and students who are doing PhDs, postdocs, and masters from all around Germany, around 20, 25 students, where I was able to represent the idea of Bifood Plastic India, as well as share more insights about the Indian ecosystem to the global level. I think this has been a game changing to figure out not only just to have fun in social media, but also follow companies, follow people, and see what they have been doing and try to research more. I think I've been always trying to take up links from Instagram and LinkedIn and keep it in a different Excel sheet. And whenever I had the time, I used to go through and see, okay, does this grant fundraising or this corporate or this master's or this PhD fit into me? If it fits, I always used to write and ask, because I thought asking never let me lose anything. So I think one of the greatest examples is always has to be ask.
That is true. In fact, I mean, it's important that we break out our own barriers and push in ourselves and our limits. That is true. Like in this, you mentioned that you went to Germany and like if you went to other countries as well. Like, what do you think Indian sustainability and Indian way of thinking of recycling sustainability is different from what's going on around the world? Is there any difference or just what's your insight on it?
Yeah, yeah, I would say we Indians, because when I gave the speech in RWTH Akin, I wanted to bring up the Indian roots. How, are we sustainable enough or are they sustainable enough? When I started
Mm,
researching, I came up with basic answers. Let's say someone in Europe had a cappuccino, nice cappuccino somewhere, and we used to have a nice chai in our cooler, which we used to throw out on the
mm,
ground and it vanishes
mm,
away. They used to have a nice lunch or breakfast in one of the fancy plates, let's say, but we used to have it in banana years. This is, I'm talking 100 years ago. And then again, with the brush, we have the branch of the tree, which is uh, more useful to make sure that are clean 13. So I figured out 100 years ago, you are already sustainable, where everything was going back to the earth. Nothing was known as waste. It was a resource for mother nature, I would say. But as technology grew up, as companies came up, one of the cultures which I could figure out is we always had a throwing culture, because you put a cooler, you throw it on the ground. You have a banana leaf, you throw it on the ground.
mm,
So this our throwing culture has been a habit for 100 of years, and now it has turned out to be plastic, thermocol, and different things. But yeah, as I said, now there are still certain places in the villages where you still find these methods stick to the roots, where it makes sure that it is culturally grown towards the other generation as well. And I think there is not a big vast difference when it comes to sustainability in terms of the global setup and in the Indian setup, because especially growing up with my mom, I could see my t-shirt being a pocha being something else. So it is in our roots that we keep
mm,
all the plastic bottles. We also have the cookie tin where there is all the needles and everything. So it is something which comes from the roots, from our houses, and I think no one could beat in that sense when it comes to in-house circular model where everything
yeah.
is making sure that it is not wasted. My mom would never throw the uh, newspapers or the cardboard just outside in the bin. She'll make sure she goes to the Bangarwala and gets that 20 rupees anyhow. And all the milk packets is always in a one different separate plastic bag. So it is I think I always felt it was rooted, but it was not vouched or it was not showcased in a way. For us, it has always been normal. But when I went to get the global exposure, when I came back and I thought, okay, we've been trained for this for years and years. So it is something which has to be inculcated, but it has to be done at a bigger level into different types of
Mm.
waste. That is one of the things which can be differentiated, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you're correct because this is something that was I experienced in my house. I think it's common in all India, and that's in-house circularity model.
Yeah.
So like the next thing that I wanted to know that you have been in this space for a long, and it must be really tough from funding to ensuring the credibility of the organization, all these things. Like, what are the challenges that you face, and how did you manage to deal with these challenges and make a real impact?
I think there have been challenges from day one. I think we were completely bootstrapped. I still remember days when I used to jump Starbucks, cafe coffee days, and malls to just for internet and electricity because we didn't have fancy offices or a space at least where we could work. So it
Mm,
was from day one to find internet electricity, which is a basic necessity, was always challenging. But I think people were very kind enough to give us the right support at the right time, whether it would be people here in Mumbai or people in India or people in Switzerland. I think the heart and the timing, everything came on the right setup for us, and the compliances was always a big issue for us because, and also building the non-profit was also a big challenging atmosphere because I studied MBA in marketing, which is completely on the business perspective, but running a non-profit, which is altogether a different ball game for us. But we kept on being consistent to wake up every day. fail, learn, and make sure when we do it again, the mistakes are not being done. I think keep on doing, being consistent enough for the last 4 to 5 years gave us a lot of opportunities, gave us a lot of insights about what we have been doing right and wrong. And now, let's say this model can be easily implicated in different bigger cities, Chennai, Bangalore, or Delhi, because now we know how the system works. What are the loopholes? How, where should we make sure that we should put more time and effort? I think these learnings can be only come from the lived experience. Unfortunately, I could not find it in any books how to make sure to run it more successfully. But there
Mm-hmm.
are challenges coming every day. Today also there is no water in the office when I woke up. So this is another challenge. How would we beat the whole day? So I think keep going on is one of the most important things for us. And always I reached out to people through other social medias, through emails, and I kept on asking people for help, or I kept on asking people for advices so that I am on the right track. Maybe if I need help, I kept on seeing people who can volunteer, who can be a core member, who can give us the right direction, because I was new when I started, and I reached out to people, and people were very kind enough in this non-profit community to really give me the right direction, give me the right contacts. And I always said that to people, this is not something I built as an organization. It is people's hard-earned money, hard-earned time, hard hustle that it brought Bifurcated Plastic India to a level it is right now. I unfortunately could not build this alone, but I could only build it with people around me. It's a people's organization, I always say. People come and put all their efforts, time, money, energy to make sure that the next generation which is coming does not suffer in what we see in the long term goal as well.
Yeah, that is true. That is really true. So if, as I mentioned, the viewers are youngsters, young professionals. So, like, we as students who want to enter into the space, like, what is the entry point where we can start? You just mentioned that we can reach out to people, but what do you think, like, anything more to start a social entrepreneurship or social enterprise by ourselves?
I think to start a social entrepreneurship is one of the basic or one of the important things to start. I think we or I or a lot of people around me always kept on thinking, what if this would happen? What if that would happen? And that is what I also thought at the very initial beginning. Starting is one of the most important and most struggling phase. And eventually, I don't know, is it about the city or is it about the people in the city? It makes sure that whatever you start, it goes on. There are always people somewhere, somehow comes to you at some point to give you something, and you never know how or when it happens. And I think being part of a lot of different communities can also help to get access to the right people, access to the right knowledge, and access to the pathways in which you are. Because luckily, I was part of different communities and fellowship that really helped me to have people who are in the same zone, or who are following the same pathway. Because I could not, few years ago I felt left out because I thought, okay, my friends are doing their corporate job, or someone is doing a PhD or something, and I am building something which is not so very common to them. So finding the right setup, finding the right community would really, really help to have the same mindset and give you, let's say, the boost to say, okay, this is not happening. Maybe you do this or do that, but keep pushing each other. So that way, I think community is one of the biggest things. And I think to start, there's no a playbook to say this is right or this is wrong. I think it is all building to like lived experiences, and eventually it really helps everyone to navigate through the problems in their own different way. Maybe someone sees the problem in a different way, and I see a problem and solution in a different way. I think starting is one of the craziest risk-taking abilities, also one of the key aspect, because I always said that if it was so easy, doing building a non-profit in Mumbai, India, every other person would have been doing. It's really hard. It's really challenging. That's why people are not wanted to take risk, maybe due to a lot of different reasons, personal, professional. which can come into this. But this is very risky at the start because you have to put a lot of years to make sure that it grows, and it grows step by step. I always say we built it from scratch bottom, brick by brick. It takes every brick to make sure it stands good, and we always focused on the foundation rather than growing fast. We wanted to make sure that everything we do is correct. Whether it takes time doesn't matter, but we want to make sure that once we have a big multi organization with, let's say, 40 to 50 people, the foundation and the core values should be so strong enough that it could withstand these number of people or withstand the ideas which we want to project in the next 10 to 20 years. So building up the foundation took a lot of years for us to make sure that we are strong enough. Now on the foundation itself, we are enlarging ourselves. We could visionize ourselves into multiple directions, I would say.
Mm. And like you mentioned that you have joined the fellowships and all, a number of fellowships. Like Good Fellow is the one with Ratan Tata and a few others. Like, could you guide our audiences? Like, how do you discover these fellowships? How to apply them? Like, how can they explore similar opportunities?
I think one of the two big fellowships which came to me, one was the CCP fellowship. So it's a cross-cultural program fellowship where people are selected from around 40 plus countries, let's say one or two people from each country who can come to Germany and explore the culture and also work with an organization similar to your ideology or similar to the organization you have been part of. So that is one of the first fellowship which I won because I was always curious to know what is something that makes people outside India so different, or to think ahead. Why are they so ahead of us? Why is there a system which we could not adapt? How different are they? What do they have that we don't have? So there was always curiosity in me to understand. So, and that's when I figured out this fellowship, which came on an Instagram reel, which said 3 months in Germany to understand the culture and all the possibilities, and it was fully funded. So I was more happy enough because uh, unluckily or luckily, I could not afford to spend 3 months in Europe, and I won the fellowship in 2023. There were only two people from India, so we were out of 4,000 applications. There were only 52 fellows around the globe who could, help win this fellowship, and that's when the journey started. And when I met the community, when I met the people from around the globe, and when I came back to India, I think it sort of became a global community where all these fellowships and everything used to come to me, and I used to also share. There was something related to textile. Okay, I know someone in Bolivia is working in textile. Maybe this is for her, or this is for him,
Mm.
and that's how the whole community started helping each other. And I also started following people and following other communities who used to put up these fellowship. That's when I figured out the fellowship. And Goodfellows is also one of the beautiful organization which I worked for 8 months as the team leader in the last few months when I left. It is India's first companionship startup, and that was completely different to what I did because that was more towards the, let's say, healthcare sector and senior citizen sector. That also luckily came on Instagram on story of Shantanu, and I just applied and I got selected because I think I had things which were very similar to the organization in the lived experiences, and I always had a soft corner for senior citizen, especially growing up with my grandparents. So I could really put up some time and efforts to help build this organization at the very initial stage. And at the time, Buy Food with Plastic India was about to close because we didn't have funds. So that's why I chose to work uh, a little bit more at Goodfellas and also try to see how we could, bring this organization alive. So these were the journeys. I think Instagram really helped me to, in some or the other way, I kept on looking, I kept on researching about, let's say, fellowship in sustainability, in climate change and environment. And I think the algorithm really picked up what I really wanted. And I started following people up who have won the fellowship, who is building a 3D printing machines or something. So I was curious, and I started following people who were building things or building organizations around the globe, and they used to always put up posts or stories or LinkedIn posts where they used to talk about their struggles, talk about their hustles, and how they are turning their challenges into solutions. So that sort of gave me an indirect advice: what should I take care while I am building, and what should I not do as mistakes by seeing to them. I think there are fellowships about and scholarships about everything around the world. You just have to figure out the right problem and right solution. And maybe just as the technology and as things are moving ahead, if you're also able to connect with the SDG goals, or at
Mhm.
least one or two of the SDG goals into the problem statement in which you are trying to face, then it's more easier to get or find this fellowship, because now you have a core problem statement which you are trying to tackle.
Yeah, I mean, I would really congratulate you because you had challenges and how you persisted with all those and went through it. So that's inspiring. So now we've come to the end of the session. So let's have a quick rapid fire round with you. So one person who inspires you in the social impact space.
I think I would always name it as Ratan Tata sir. He's been always a motivation to do something good and in a good way. And it's always been an inspiration and motivation for me.
Okay, then a myth about plastic which you want people to stop believing in.
I would say plastic is not a waste. Come on, plastic is a resource when you are able to find out the right medium to recycle, upcycle, and reuse it.
Hmm. Okay. And last, if you had 1 crore to invest in solve a problem in India, what would that be?
Plastic pollution and plastic recycling.
I understand. I understand. So, like, you've already inspired so many with your journey. You've been to TEDx as well. Like, what's next for you for Buy with Plastic India? What's next in your mind?
I think we are dreaming big. I think no one can stop us in dreaming big. One thing I learned is I can dream anything about life, and people are lately I've been thinking, I come from the city of dreams. Where in the world would I go and dream? So I can dream big in the city. And what we're trying to do in the next couple of years is we are trying to establish a recycling manufactory here in Mumbai, where we are able to collect as many plastic as possible. So we are installing collection points in schools, corporates, universities. So we can be a facilitator in between these large organizations. So rather than the plastic going into the landfills in the ocean, we want to collect it and also recycle this plastic. So that could give job opportunities for the youth of Mumbai or youth of India. And also we want to support women entrepreneurship, where we can also give these job opportunities for the women as well. And we want to make products which can be used by schools, corporates, and university. Let's say for table, chairs, benches, and things which can be replaced into everyday items. And we just don't want to do stop by doing this. I want to have a Buy Food or Plastic India restaurant in the heart of Mumbai, where anyone can come with 20 plastic bottles, give us, sit down, have a warm meal, go to their school, go to their university, go to their job. I think that is one of the larger dreams which we are trying to see. And we want to also make products out of the recycled plastic, because of one reason: we want to be self-sustainable. So by selling these products in the market, we want to refinance the whole structure and whole operational cost of running the manufacturing, giving salaries, doing community events, paying for the collection point, paying for the rent of the manufacturing, and things like that. So in terms of circularity, you see that the plastic is turned into a product. Same way, we want to make sure that the funds which we get is also refinanced. So we are not dependent, but we are be self-sustainable, so that more people can join hands. And I want to have this idea not stick to one city in Mumbai. We want to grow in different big cities such as Delhi, Bangalore, Ahmedabad, Chennai, Kolkata. And from there, we want to go to rural cities where we are able to cater to different type of plastic, let's say plastic bags and MLPs. But for now, we want to tackle the core issue of plastic bottles, I would say.
That is innovative. I think that's the whatever goals you mentioned are the need of the hour that our country and the world in general needs because of the climate change. That is true. So, any final word of advice that you would give to our young change makers out there?
I think one of the biggest advice I would like to say is, as I mentioned earlier, is to ask. Don't be afraid of asking. I don't know. I grew up in an Indian society or in a society where asking is always degraded, saying, "Hey, if I ask something, maybe my friend Rahul thinks Shakti don't even know this much. How stupid." That's why it made me not ask at every point of life, and now I be shameless in asking because I know what it has given me in the past. Few experiences. And one thing is, you have one life, have a big dream, have a goal and be consistent in that dream. At one point in time, you definitely turn your dreams into reality. Things take time. I always say anything which is instant can't be, constant. And I think just enjoy life. We are not a machine, so we should take some time out for friends and families, especially because yeah, this is why we work. And 3 meals a day and enjoy life. I would say there is nothing materialistic I would like to tell to the youngsters over here.
True. Thank you so much, Shakti, for taking out time and joining in today. I think your journey tells us to be persistent, to keep on asking, to just continue to push it on boundaries. And I hope the audiences too could connect with that. Thank you so much for joining in. And
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. Please keep following us for more such inspiring